Good evening, my Rabbi. We are in Zera Shimshon Volume 2, at the end of the Sefer, page Tov Kuf Tes Vav, letter Hey. Tonight, Zera Shimshon's Le'ila Nishmas, Chava Bas Yaakov, whose yard site was a couple of days ago, Gimel Adar, Chava Rubenstein. Her neshama should have an aliyah. Amen. And tonight, Zera Shimshon Shir is also Le'ilui Nishmas Moshe Rabbeinu, whose yard site is now Zayin Adar, my Rabbi site. Zayin Adar, Medaf Tzindan Alech, Moshe ben Amram. It's his yard site. So we found the Zera Shimshon that talks about the yard site of Moshe Rabbeinu. How appropriate. What else should we do? First of all, I just want to welcome everybody. Thank Torah Anytime for being such a wonderful host and expanding Torah across the world. Okay, Marav Rabbi say, hey, Megillah Perikama. The Gemara says, Hipil Pur, Hu Agairo. In order to decide how to kill the Jewish people, Haman decided that he would like to rely on a lottery. He wants to try with the koyach of mazel. He wants to try with the koyach of mazel, which according to Chazal is the koyach of the constellations. The stars, not just the stars, the way the stars are connected to each other. When the Eibishter is mashpia to the world, the Rambam writes in the beginning of Hilchas Deis, the hashpah comes down through those gilgulim through hakaychavim. It's through them that the world is influenced. Haman, by casting lots, Hipil Pur felt that if there's a chance that he can wipe out the Jewish people, the only way to do it is to see if the mazel is with him. Memele Hipil Pur, and the whole Yom Tov is Al Shem HaPur. The whole Purim is Al Shem this lottery.
He did a poor job.
No, actually, as you're going to see, he did a good job, but we did better. We were zoicha to v'nahapeichu, that we were changed, poor reinu, it became our, right? He ended up being poor old Haman. He went from being rich to poor, but it was because of unzer avoida. He did a good job. As a matter of fact, he did such a good job, says the Gemara like this, which we're quoting it here in the Zera Shimshon, Hipil Pur Hu Agairol, Kivan Shenafa Pur Bechodesh Adar Samach Simcha Gedoyla. He was not stam happy, Samach Simcha Gedoyla. Omar. Was sagst du?
I thought he ran the raffle like 6 times until he got Adar.
No. Chas v'shalom. So Omar, let me read the Gemara. Kivan shenafa por b'chodesh samach sim Omar nafali por b'yerech shemeis boy Moshe. His poor ended up in the last month. Acharon. For Haman, it was Achrein Chaviv. He was very happy, because this would be the end of Klal Yisrael, and it's the month that Moshe Rabbeinu died. His Pur came out in the 12th month, on the 13th day, what we commemorate now. The Pur came out on the 13th day, but it's the Yerach Shemeis Boy Moshe. Today is Zayin Adar. So today is Moshe Rabbeinu's yard site, where it's appropriate to learn a bisala about Haman's, his mistake. Haman was no dummy, as we're going to learn. Haman was, like we learned last week in the Maharal, Hamin Ha'etz. Haman's koyach comes from the Nochash HaKadmoini. So there is a certain amount of justification in what Haman is doing. Haman was happy, and unfortunately, to a certain extent, he had a reason to be happy. Yerach Shemez by Moshe could potentially be the month that Klal Yisrael is kaput and finished. Says the Gemara, V'lo hoya yoida, ein zachater nish gewist. Lo hoya yoda, he did not know shebish zayin ba'odar meis ubish shiva ba'odar noilad. That's going to be one of the Zera Shimshon's questions, Moshe. He didn't know that Moshe Rabbeinu was also born on that day. Lamer zen, v'hula yadas, you can turn the page, gentlemen. V'hula yadas shebizzayin ba'adar meis u'bezibah ba'adar noilad. Now Rashi says something very strange. Zogt Rashi, Pirish Rashi, b'shiva ba'adar noilad, Zogt Rashi, Kedai hu haleda sheyechaper al hamisa. The leda is mechaper, atones for the death. That's cryptic. That's cryptic. The leda is mechaper for the misa. Excuse me, the leda comes first, then comes the misa. How could the leda be mechaper? The misa comes later, right?
Later.
Yes. Okay. Says Makshim Ha'olam. Frag the Zera Shimshon. No, it's Purim Teira. Makshim Ha'olam. Eich efsher sheyeh Haman yodeya shebeshiva ba'adar meis Moshe. How is it possible? How is it possible that he should know that Moshe died on that day? If you already know when, if he knows that much about Moshe Rabbeinu, don't you think he could also find out that that day he was born? So that's question number one. Why did he know this and not know that? Oid. What the lashon of the Gemara is? Let's see the lashon again. Vehu lo yoda shebeshiva ba'adar meis u beshiva ba'adar noilad. I mean, he knew that he died on that day, didn't he? The Gemara said that he knew that. So what didn't he know? He didn't know that he was born. But yet, that's not what the Gemara says. There's something secretive, there's some type of a remez in the Gemara. Not only did he not know that he was born, but the Gemara repeats there's a kesher between hu lo yoda shemeis v'hu lo yoda shenoilad. Something about the misa he didn't know. I'm already telling you a little bit chet sheilas chacham chetzi tshuva. If you know how to ask a question, then in the kasha you hear a little bit of the answer. Meaning there's something about the misa he didn't know, and that's based on the leda. From revealing to him that the leda was on this same day, taiches up, it's a nandera sort misa. It's a different type of misa. Balt. That's question number 2. V'oy divrei Rashem temuim, like a bunch of you asked. Shepirish kedai yom aleida shechapa amisa dema kapara shaykh b'yom amisa. What kind of kapara is there in yom amisa? The late is mechaper for the misa. Usually the misa is mechaper. Rambam says a person does an aveira, and unfortunately he needs, it was a chilul Hashem, then his misa is a favor for him. Why? Because the misa is mechaper. So it's usually not that the late is mechaper, it's the misa. How could you not be mechaper? Shegedolim tzadikim b'misosam yoser mechayehem. Don't we also know that people, tzadikim, Moshe Rabbeinu. His Moshe Rabbeinu's the Olam Moshe over here is saying good. Moshe Yecheskel Zogdach good. One of the reasons it says we don't know where Moshe Rabbeinu's caver is because people would go daven over there and they would be able to get Yeshuas. And Klal Yisrael, would they gone to Moshe Rabbeinu's caver, they would be able to be piled because Gad Tzadikim are Gedolim b'Misasim. All those people who go across the street from my house to the Ribnitzer, and they medavent, we see Yeshuas, etc., etc. So Gedolim. So what's wrong with the fact that he's nifter and that itacharaya is a raya that it's a good month for me? Don't worry about it. Moshe Rabbeinu's zechuyot are bigger now that he's nifter. Gedolim tzadikim, and finally. V'oid shemoshe meis b'midbar kedei shebnei doira yischu l'tchiyah. Chazal tell us, Moshe Rabbeinu, think about it. Where is Moshe Rabbeinu? We don't know where he is. But one thing we do know, he's lost in the desert. I mean, he's not lost, he's lost, it's lost for us, but he's in the desert. That's a befitting place for Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is he in the desert? Why is he there? So Chazal say, I'll give you a mashal. A man loses a little bit of change. He's at the beach, and some coins fall out of his pocket. A couple of pennies, a couple of quarters, and they're lost in the sand. He's not going to sift through the sand, right? Then a diamond falls out of his pocket, a very expensive diamond. Now he's going already sifting the sand. No, once he starts sifting, he's going to get the money too. You think he's not going to put the money in his pocket? Of course he will. He's not going to throw it away. Once he looks for the diamond, then he'll take already everything. Zog the Medrash, Klal Yisrael, who sinned in Maaseh Meraglim, 600,000 Jews are buried in the desert. Shishim Ribui are buried in the desert. Every year they dug graves, like Chazal say, on Tisha B'Av. They would dig graves and they would lay down, and then they would get up in the morning, Yibadlu Menachayim V'Amesim. And then the people who deserved to live, wasn't yet their time, would get up. Gans Klal Yisrael that left Mitzrayim, who sinned by the Meraglim, are there. Zog the Eibishter, I'm putting Moshe Rabbeinu there too. Because eventually I'm going to come back and take the diamond. When I take the diamond, all of Klal Yisrael is coming around. Gans Klal Yisrael, he's the captain of that ship. Have the ship. Some people say that now, thanks to Moshe, Yochi's saying good. There's a shaila if they're right, if they're going to have a chelik in Olam Haba. If Moshe's there, then they come out with Moshe. If Moshe is there, so there's a reason why he's better. And that's in the one line of the Zera Shimshon, he's machnes this. The Zera Moshe meis b'midbar kedei shebnei doira yisku l'tchiyah. He died there so that he should bring them back. Please, his misa is a bad thing. His misa is doch a gute Zach. It's a good thing. Verkehrt. He saves everybody. So what's Haman getting so excited about Yom Shemeis by Moshe? Again, if you're just joining us, today's Moshe Rabbeinu's a yahrzeit. So we chose to speak about this appropriately. Today is his birthday, and today is his yahrzeit. Beide. V'yesh loimer zok the heilige Zera Shimshon. Shehaman hayesoiver shegodo ma'oid zchuso shemoshe Rabbeinu. He knew that Moshe Rabbeinu's schus was great. V'chetana malach hashar is a parak Heidah Shabbos. The Tanya, Amar malach hashar is a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shalaylam. The Malachim asked, Mipnei ma kanasta misa al Adam Arishon. Why did you bring misa to Adam? Amar lahem mitzvah kala tzivisa v'over aleh. I gave him one easy mitzvah. One easy mitzvah. Don't eat from the tree. And he went and he ate from it. Then they asked him, V'halei Moshe ve'Aharon kibnu kol ha'Torah kula u'meisa. Didn't Moshe and Aaron, didn't they deserve to live forever? They did everything. Moshe ve'Aaron. Omar lahem, the Eibishter says, Mikra echad letzadik v'lerosha. Once the psak has been given, it's across the board. Which means, says the Zera Shimshon, let's learn a diak, Shma mino, if not for the mistake of Adam Harishon, Ein Hachinami. Moshe v'Aaron, what they accomplished, they should have lived and continued living. Shma mino di'ilav mikra echad lo haya lo Moshe lameis. Lamus, he shouldn't have died. But if that's true, then chaba kasha. So then, is the Eibishter fair? So you're telling me now that Moshe Rabbeinu shouldn't have died today. Zion others shouldn't have been his day, but he should have kept on going. Why is he dying? Because of Yenim. Since when does he have to die? Because of somebody else. Fragt sich a kasha. Was sagst du? But that's not what it says over there. It says hitting the rock was that he can't go to Eretz Yisrael. It's a different cheshbon. That's a different cheshbon. Stamma you have a kasha. But this is what the Medrash says. This is what actually the Gemara says. Gemara in Shabbos. So fragt sich a kasha. How is it possible, tachlis, that Moshe Rabbeinu is dying because of the sin of Adam Arishon? Lo yaseh mishpat. Fragt the Zera Shimshon v'zeine mishpat. Zog the Zera Shimshon agroise yesoid. Ela vaday tzorech loymar ki pirush hatargum al posik hakol kasher lakol mikra echad. The word it says mikra echad lekulam kula b'mazla tol min hashamayim shenirish hakol toli b'mazl v'yesh mazl liyisrael. It's a big machlokes. We've talked about it in the past. Yesh mazal Yisrael, ein mazal Yisrael. Let's take a minute to explain that, which I said earlier. All of the shefa and all of the life that comes down to this world comes through the koichavim. One of the smartest people who knew this was Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu asked Rabbi Shalom, I looked at the stars, and they say there's no way we're having kids. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, you're right, but tzei mitstagnina shelcha, leave that perspective, and now listen to what Chazal said. Avram loy noilad, Avraham noilad. What does that mean? I'll add a hey. I want to ask you a question. Please forgive me, okay? You know, when we grew up in life, they sometimes betunish fragen kan kashas. The kasha I'm about to ask you, maybe if I was younger, I might have gotten a patch for this kasha. I'm sorry, right? Yeah, I'm gonna hear live on Torah anytime. We're gonna broadcast. I'm gonna ask a question betunish fragen. I want to ask a question, okay? The Eibishter says, don't worry. Avram loy noilad, Avraham ab adahei. Eibishter, you could do everything. Why don't you just make Avram have a kid? What do you have to add the hay for? What do you have to add the hay for?
Yeah, that's not a question. You can ask a question about anything. Right?
I'm asking that. Hashem, you could do everything? Hashem, you could do everything? So do it.
When Hashem does miracles and stuff, he uses the Bria. He doesn't just...
This is not the first. This is not the first time we asked this question over here in this platform of this year. We talked about it once. The emes is, if the Eibishter wanted to, you're absolutely right. There's nothing stopping the Eibishter. If he wanted to make Avram have a child, he could have. But he did set up the world in a system, and when he dealt with Avraham, when he dealt with him, Ushmi yudke vovke loy nadati lohem. I exposed myself, I revealed myself, I connected to them in the name Shin Dalid Yud, which means I went through the system of the Bria. I went through the system of Sha'omar La'olamai Dai, Shem Shakai, which uses Ma'arachai Shamayim. Even when I'm dealing with you within the confines of a Tevadika world, I can still manipulate things. I can still change your name, change your mazel, and bring you a kid. That's the secret, by the way, of sometimes when a person looks to make a shinui Hashem. Chas v'shalom, somebody's sick, somebody needs a shinui Hashem. So, Einochanami, the name is a chelik of the person's mazel, and changing that name, you see that by Avram. You see that by Sarai won't have a kid, Sarah will have a kid. Changes their mazel. What does that mean? That means Klal Yisrael is totally in mazel. Yes, but Klal Yisrael has the power to go outside of its mazel. The Eibishter will intervene on our behalf and change it. We talk about sometimes Mishane Mokaim, Mishane Mazel. Do you know why Mishane Mokaim, Mishane Mazel? You know why that's true? My Rebbe Scheiner Levracha, Reb Moshe Shapiro, Oichet HaMoshe. My Rebbe had gesagt, the name of a person, the essence of a person and his place are totally zebazeh. When you write a get, they write a get, this person from this and this place. The reason that you're writing the name of the place is not just to identify him. He's this tall, he's this. There are many ways of identifying a person. The mokim that a person lives in is the mokim is his mekayim. It's what establishes him. It's a chelik of who he is. Like the way you see people or even animals can be bred or live in a certain place. So you can have lahavdil, a bear that's a North American, and you can have one that's South American. You have animals that different traits because the mokim where they are, that's mashpia on them. So too, means that a chelik of who we are is totally in our mokim. So we change when we change mekayimos. Mishane mokim is not so different than Mishane Hashem. There's a very big connection between a name change and a place change. Both of them have a shaykhus to each other because both of them are talking about the etzem person himself. Malamadnu, so we're learning that you could be in a certain mazel and it's shaykh for a yid. It's shaykh l'shanois es hamazel. Mishane mokai mishane mazel. Al koponim, Moshe Rabbeinu zokter. Shenire, it was totally Moshe Rabbeinu v'shalom meis machmas hamazel. V'isra mazola di Yisrael chas v'shalom b'chodesh hazeh. This was Haman's understanding. Haman knew very well that the world is totally under the koiches of the koichavim. Haman himself was an Oived Avodah Zarah, and Haman himself even made himself into Avodah Zarah. Haman understood the power of Avodah Zarah. So Haman, through his gairol, through these koiches of Teva, Haman was able to figure out the appropriate time to wipe out the Jews. My Rebbe said he was right. Potentially, the Jews could be wiped out in the month of Adar. He wasn't wrong. He's right. What he didn't know, as we're about to learn, sheba oisa yoim noilad, not just oisa yoim nifter. That Klal Yisrael have a koyach to change even the koyach of the Misa. Let's see what he says. Let's see how this changes around. You know why? Because v'nahapachu. V'nahapachu is turning the bad into good. It's a month of me'evel liyom tov, miyogoin l'simcha. What makes this month so good, we always celebrate Purim by fasting first and then feasting. We always go, we only celebrate Purim by being mahapach von schlechts. We go from a fast to a simcha. You know, if you live in Yerushalayim, normally you don't have to fast and hear the Megillah, except this year, right? Right? Isn't that this year? Don't they have the Purim Mishnahs, and this year they're also going to listen? Yes? Every year, we, the people who live in Yudalid, we fast. What's that? You can't fast on Shabbos. That's right. They're fasting on every Shabbos. When do they listen to the Megillah? Is that when it is? Yeah? You know what? I didn't check yet. Okay. Akopanim, but some...
What do you mean?
Means that Shabbos is Purim in Eretz Yisrael.
And Eretz Yisrael, they can't. They can't. They can't.
They can fast.
What's that?
Thursday.
Was Oxta? Akoponim, we always fast and listen to the Megillah while you're fasting. For us, it's mamash v'nahapeichu. For us, it's always suffering first and then going to the simcha from that suffering. It's about, or if the kids have a lot of party snappers. The Isra Mazlayu Chas v'Shalom b'Chodesh V'zeh Shomer Kivan Shenafel HaGoyrel. What does Goyrel mean? Says the Zera Shimshon. Hainu HaMazel b'Chodesh Adar. He knew that the mazel was shlecht. Samach Simcha Gedoyel v'Amenafel Yipor Shemeis by Moshe. Now, v'hu lo yada shebeshiva ba'adar meis u'beshiva ba'adar noilad. V'aminim b'medrash. Says the Gemara, Hein, David HaMelech writes, Ba'avoin cholalti. I was mechulal, I became a chalal. Chalal is also a lashon of a person who's dead because of a sin. Amar Bacha, afilu im yechoset shebechasidim. A person, it's impossible for a person to be 100% ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher yasa toiv alecht. I'm going to share with you a gross secret here. Okay? L'kovid Moshe Rabbeinu.
We just have mentioned our word.
Amar David l'vnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rabbi Nishon. Klum niskaven abba yishi lahamideni. Did my father Yishai have 100% machshava when he made mommy pregnant? Was it only because of me? So he had hano. He was doing it for his guf. That creates misa. Misa doesn't come because of the aveira that a person did per se, because even if a person would be squeaky clean, there would always be misa, because inception happens not 100% pure. 1 second. Hochinami kol adam yesh loy tzad ovain machmas briyosoi. Within the creation of every person, there is something which is guf on neshama. Ubishvil ze ro l'chol adam lamus. V'atam shemeis Moshe Rabbeinu. You think, Haman, that the reason Moshe Rabbeinu died is because he must have been sinful or because of his mazel. It's not true. Elamitzada ovain shenivra boy. Kedai haleida. You don't understand, Haman, the depth of how Klal Yisrael, how people are born. Va'ein oid mekan raya sheyesh mazal Yisrael she'isru mazalayu. And therefore, v'zeh mipnei misas Moshe. It's not the pshat. V'zeu omar ulo yoda shebeshiva b'meis b'shiva noilad dahainu shatam shemeis u'mepnei shenoilad. Do you know why he died? Because he was born. He died because he was born. Kedai haleida sheyechaper ala misa. He's not dying because he did a sin, says the Zera Shimshon. I understand he died because he was born, because the chol av afilu yechoset shebechasidim iyefshe shaloi betzad echaz ma'avai. Va'af malachi hashoris shekikshu Moshe v'Aaron lo yodu chilik zeh shekol adam shenoilad min haroi sheyamus. Every person should die. So says the Zera Shimshon, zok the Zera Shimshon, what's the pshat in the Gemara that Moshe Rabbeinu's misa was not bad mazel the way Haman thinks, because Haman thought that Misa was because Moshe did something wrong. So you see, Klal Yisrael blew it. It's not true. Moshe Rabbeinu did not do anything wrong. Moshe Rabbeinu did like the Malach HaSharis. So why did he die? He died because every person is created through a shtickle oven.
And even Amram and Yishai, both these examples are sons of people never sinned.
The Gemara says Aram, he died because of Be'ita Shal Nachash.
Amram also just Yishai.
Gemara, not Amram, Yishai it says about. You want
would never sin.
to hear something, Rabbi Yisai? There's an exception to the rule. Yaakov Avinu, loimes. Yaakov Avinu, let me tell, lemach dezugen epis. Yaakov, listen. Yaakov Avinu, I'm going to be Megillah Abissal Asoid. Yaakov Avinu said many times, over behind you'll have a new knetch in Havana. Yaakov Avinu, when he was ready to start Klal Yisrael, he said, Hava ishti v'ava yeleha. Fragt Rashi, v'arei kal shebekalim. Nobody talks that way. He says, give me my wife so I should be able to have intimacy with her. That's what he said to Lavan. That's what you say. Azoi retman schwer. Azoi retman, that's how you talk. The Gemara says, everybody knows why Kala gets married, but Misha Manavel Piv, and a person who speaks inappropriately, unfortunately what happens to him, he has kol mina gehenim sholtim olav. So what's he saying? Answers Rashi, Elikadei lahokim zarei niskaven. He did it to have kids. Says my Rebbe, Zichron Levracha, no. So to hokim zarei, but red via mensch. He says, you don't understand what Rashi is saying. When Yaakov Avinu told his father Lavan, I want my wife Rachel, there was nothing else in his mind, in his hearer, nothing else other than using my body to create Klal Yisrael. Shiftei Ko. The fact that the Eibishter is a partner in all of us. The fact that the Eibishter is a shutef, we spoke about this, shloisha shutfim ba'adam. A man, his wife, and the Eibishter. We put the body together. He puts in the neshama, and he's a shutef. That started with Yaakov Avinu. Do you know why? Because Yaakov, in his mind, when he was with his wives, he was bringing the Eibishter down to this world and inserting neshamas into people. That's why Yaakov Avinu's face is on the top of the Kisei HaKavod. His face, his partsuf is on the top of Kisei HaKavod, and it looks like Adam Arishon, and he's the first person and the most important person who brings down a Tselem Elokim. No other nation in the world, no other people in the world are shutfim with the Eibishter. Shloisha shutfim ba'adam is exclusive to Yidden only.
That's why his name is changed?
Shloisha shutfim ba'adam, that's why Kol Yisrael, yes, Michael, you're saying good. Yashar Kale. He did something like a malach. Reishis Oini, Avada. Yaakov Avinu was so controlled, it says it was Reishis Oini. Yaakov Avinu controlled his hirhurim, his machshavos. His machshavos. There was not just no bad words, the carry of Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov's Zera was Zera Kodesh Mamish. And that's why it's called Shiftei Ko. And that's why Kol Yisrael Yesh Le Chelik Lo'olam Haba. Says the Gemara, Tainis Dav Zayin. How do you know that Yaakov Avinu lives forever? Says the Gemara, Makish Hu Lezarei. Just like the Zarei live forever, so too Yaakov Avinu lives forever, which means that he was successful in bringing the Eibishter back. Yaakov, like Adam, koidem achet. He brought Hashem back into this world, which means, Chazal say, Whenever two Jewish people, what's the chiddush of Yaakov Avinu? Take another 2 minutes. We say this all the time. Avram was the first person to become Jewish. The erste Gevorene. Yitzchak, Rav Hutner used to say, the erste Geborene, he's born Jewish. Yaakov Avinu is the erste Verfallene. What does it mean, Verfallen? Yeah. You're born Jewish, there's nothing you can do to sever those ties. The neshama is azoi gut, it's so good inside, it's never going to end. It just perpetuates and it goes. You can make afilu rishoyim, right? Afilu rishoyim, mole mitzvahs kerimoin. They're full of mitzvahs. A Jew you can never count out. He'll always go on forever. It's the strongest thing in this world. Rabbi Leuchter once said, do you know why Haman was not successful? He tried doing something that Pashut couldn't work. You know, you have these, he gave a mashal, and we'll finish with this. It's mamish and tied all together. They have these windshields, non-breakable windshields, right? They'll show you in this commercial, you take a sledgehammer and you hit the thing and it can't break. What happens? The thing bounces back, right? The harder you hit the glass, the more it comes back. Because if it's going to break, so then your force will go through the windshield. But if it doesn't break, the more force you put in, the more it boomerangs back. That's what happened on Purim. When Haman tried to wipe out the Jewish people, he came up with an unbreakable windshield. Klal Yisrael will not die. It's not going to happen. So he died that day. As the more energy that he put in was in itself, immediately he died. Because all that koyach to push something that is unpushable, to break something that's unbreakable, to sever something that's unseverable, so the more energy you put in, automatically it boomerangs back and it wipes you out. So within the time of no time, he was already gone. That Haman hat nicht verstanden. He thought that there was a misa. He didn't chap that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he was nifter on the day that he was born, means he came full circle. He did his job and he handed it over to the next people. He finished his job. Today's his yard site, but today's his Yom Leida. That's what it means to live till 120. When you give a person a bracha, zos leben bis 120, what are you telling him? You really should live till 120? You're telling him you should be memala your tafkid in the world. The Eibishter put you down in this world for a reason. Live till 120. Like Moshe Rabbeinu lived till 120. V'lo yoda, he didn't know that you can die and move on once you finished your job. Yaakov Avinu saw to it that Klal Yisrael would go on forever. And generation after generation would hand off to the next one and hand off to the next one. V'kedai hi haleida, means say to be born into this world. Which leida? The leida of Yaakov Avinu. The leida that can bring eternal life. So that even the misa, it's not the Zera Shimshon's mahalach, it's my mahalach. But even the leida, even the misa of a Moshe Rabbeinu is not a problem. You know why? Because he has such a leida. He has a leida of Klal Yisrael. And that leida goes on forever.